Hey guys, Simply Imaginary People Frankie, and today I'm going to show you how to make GEOM-based sliders. So GEOM-based sliders are sliders that are based on the face and the scalp. This is because, let's just import face and a scalp. In Sims, each of these vertices, so these points on the mesh of the face, has an ID number. And the slider pretty much says, move the vertice with this specific ID number in this specific direction. So it's pretty easy. You just pretty much say, this ID number needs to move this way, and this ID number needs to move this way. That's a GEOM-based slider. It literally just goes from the ID number that these points have. This works because obviously every adult male has the same face. It's just the vertices are in different positions, but the same number of vertices and in their scalp also. It doesn't work for body because body meshes are based on clothing and not every piece of clothing has the same number of vertices. So to make body sliders, they are bone-based. So it pretty much says that every part of the clothing assigned to the bone lower arm needs to get fatter or needs to move like this. So mostly body sliders are a bit different to make. I've never actually made one, so I can't do a tutorial on that. But I just know that this method is not going to work for body sliders. So the first thing you need to do is you need to make your edited mesh to tell the game how you want the slider to move the vertices. So I just imported an adult male scalp and adult male face. So I'm just going to select both of these. That means shift, by the way. And press join, so I'm editing them in one. And the best things to use in Blender to edit are one, to go to scalp mode, to pick the grab tool, and make sure that your symmetry is on X unless you want to make an asymmetrical slider. And then you can do what I did with the scalp slider, which was just push in parts like this, maybe pull something out. Take your time, make sure you do it properly, shape it the way you want it. So the other thing you can use is if you go to edit mode, you can use this here, enable or disable proportional editing. So if I select this area or maybe just this area, if I move it up without proportional editing, you'll see it looks really weird. And now I'll turn on proportional editing. I'll press G for movement. And if I scroll in my wheel, you'll see there's this circle. Usually it's so big that you can't see it, so you need to scroll up on your wheel to make it smaller. And if I now move up, you can see it moves a bit more of the head. And the bigger I make it, the more it moves. You can see that. So that's another way of doing it. I usually like to use sculpt mode. So I think what my slider is going to do is just make something really simple. I'm going to select the top. I'm going to use proportional editing. And I'm just going to move it up a bit. So my slider is just going to make the forehead pretty much bigger and the head a bit longer. Looks ridiculous like this. But hey, we're just making something random. So what you're going to do now is you are going to go, just go here, into C, Program Files, mine's D, so ignore that, Electronic Arts, The Sims 3, Game Data, Shared, Packages, and Open Full Build 0. You need to do this once the first time you make a slider, and you'll get this. And what you're going to need to do is you need to write in face under name and geom here under tag. Tick both of these and then say set so that the words come down here, and then activate the filter. Because what you need to do is you need to export the original game meshes with all their information. So if you want to make a slider like this face slider for all morphs, so for fat face and for thin face, you need to do this for every single morph. And yeah, so if I just import AM face fat. You'll see that it's slightly different shape up here than my original. So I would have to do it for the fat morph as well, which is a bit annoying. Ooh, Jesus. I'm just going to do it for one morph at the moment. So you might need to do this, redo this with the fat face or not. But I'm of the opinion that you can do it with just the normal face because it literally just still tells the slider in which direction to go. So we just need the normal faces. As I said, I've only done this once before, so I haven't actually tried out that much. And I did it with the scalp, which doesn't have a fat morph. So, yeah. What you're going to need is you are going to need the adult male face LOD 0, the normal one without fat or something on it. So these are all called AM face. I'm just going to change this to AM face. That already gets out all the other ages. If you want to do this for multiple ages, you're going to need to do all these steps for all ages. So you're going to need to edit your female face or whatever you want as well. LOD 0 is, here you go, the highest level of detail. And you can do it obviously for medium level of detail on that as well if you want to, but I don't because barely anyone plays on low level of detail and it would be an extra, like you'd have to do it even more. So here you can see there's 1, 2, 3. I think one is like face, lips, and something. So as I don't know which one's which, I'm pretty sure this one is face. So it's the GEOM, and you're just going to say export to file, and you're going to pick somewhere to go. So I'm just going to say project scalp and say new folder 2. That's my second slider, and just export this. Now I'm just going to open Milkshape just to make sure what it is, if it's the correct thing. So make sure you've installed the GEOM sliders for Milkshape so that you can say import Sims 3 GEOM importer. And I'm just going to import, just ignore those pop-ups. And yeah, okay, so number 2 is the face. See, the face exists as a face, and this is actually the tongue in there. Okay, good. Now I've got the face I need. If I want to do it for different ages, of course I need to do it for different ages. For the scalp, don't export the one from game. Use the replacement that I uploaded because scalps in Sims 3 actually don't have ID numbers for their vertices, and I made replacements that do have ID numbers. So if you want your slider to work with the scalp as well, then you need to use my scalp. So just do the same thing, download my mod, and then just export the correct one that you want. So export to file, whichever one you want. Obviously, if you are making a slider that only affects the face, so I don't know, you're doing cheekbones or lips or something, you don't need to worry about the scalp at all. You only need to worry about the face. I'm doing one because I moved the forehead, which and the rest of the head, it affects both scalp and face. So when you've got all the files exported from the game and you've done your edit, what you're going to do is you're going to export it. So I just need to separate the scalp from the head again. So I'm just using L to select the scalp, P, parent by selection. And now I'm going to file, export to object, make sure I click selection only, groups as groups, and don't want materials. And I'm going to export this as head, edit, the head of the scalp, scalp, edit, and then the face, export as head, edit. Cool. Now what I need to do is transform those into GEOM, so I'm just going to import this head edit, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to say file, export, GEOM exporter, and call it head edit, and then import scalp and file export scalp, edit. Perfect. So once you've done this, you need to open Mesh Toolkit. And you're going to go to replace values. Yep, that makes it way too big. Okay. Mesh to copy from, you're going to select, your edit, so say head edit. And mesh to copy to, you're going to select your mesh. So here's the face mesh, and you're just going to press position. So literally what we're doing is we're copying the position, the new position of the head that we edited to the geom of the original game. This way, we keep the ID, because our mesh obviously only has positions. It doesn't have a vertex ID, it doesn't have bones, it doesn't have tag vals. And so by just copying this to one that already has all those information and just copying the position over, we literally get a geom that has vertex IDs, the correct position for ours, and various other things. Vertex ID being the most important, because otherwise the slider won't work. So we're just going to say copy values and save, and then call it head ID. That'll do. And I'm going to do the same with the scalp. So I'm going to say scalp edit, and I'm going to select the mesh that I have. So AM scalp lot 0, which you exported from my mod. Again, just position, export it, and say scalp ID. Good. Now we're going to go back to Milkshape, and we're going to say import geom. First thing I'm going to import is the original game head. You'll see if you press comment, it has FVFItem 8 and a lot of information on it. And it also has, if I show you here, if I say examine mesh and I select it, you'll see it has vertex ID range from 38 to 1091. If you now click your head edit, you'll see it has no information, but if you click your head ID, it has the correct information, all the bone hashes and everything. And with the scalp ID, you'll see I just gave it a really high ID from 120,000 because that was way off, so that I wouldn't clash with anything else. So scalp ID also has the correct information it needs. Bones are not really important because it's a slider, it's not going to work off bones because it's a GEOM slider. So I'm going to import that, and then I'm going to import your head ID as the second group. And if you press comment, you'll see it has all those informations too. So, and to make a slider, you need to pretend that this is a morph. And to do that, I need to select the numbers from someone else, from the tutorial I'm working off. You need to copy this information here. I'll link to the tutorial, or I'll just paste this information. And you need to go into comment of your mesh, delete all of this, and paste in that. So it says exactly this. And then press OK. That says it's a morph, and you needed to import this because this is the main mesh, and yours is then the morph mesh. Now if I hide mine, you can see that the forehead just kind of gone higher. Anyway, what we're going to do now is we're going to export as a geom again. And it says it can only export one group per file. We only need our group. So we're going to press OK, and it says, do you want to export the first group? No, because that's the original mesh. And it says, do you want to export the second group? I'm going to say yes. So I'm going to call this head slider. And what it does is it calculates the difference between this one and this one based on their vertex IDs and saves that pretty much. So it literally just saves the difference in the position based on the vertex ID, so exactly what a slider should do. So we're going to save this, and then we're going to do the same for the scalp. Import geom my scalp mesh, and scalp, and then import geom the one we edited, scalp ID. And again, we're going to go into comment and we're going to delete all of this. And we're going to paste in this information. And then again, export. Okay, no to the first pop-up, yes to the second one, and say scalp slider. Right, once we've done all that, we are going to load the Morph Maker program, which I'll also link. Load. Project, name it something, so maybe simply scalp 2. It creates an instance ID, that's fine. And we did young adult male and adult male, they are the same mesh. So it says here young adult male LOD 0. So highest level of detail, we didn't do the further LODs, and said select morph GEOM files. So we made it a morph by making it a subgroup to the main one and exporting it and editing those files. So I'm just going to select my head slider and my scalp slider. Yeah. I can do the same for adult male because they have the same mesh. If I wanted to do it for elder and for teens, I would need to do all the steps, so edit it in Blender and do all the steps as well. Although I could do that, you could use the scalp. Teen to elder has the same scalp, so you would only have to do the face part again, pretty much. But also do the scalp if you did the scalp slightly different, because I'm not sure I can perfectly reconstruct the same movement for the other ages. So yeah, once you've imported all that, just go make morphs slider, and it says label text for slider, so scalp slider 2. Just going to call it face body region, so I'm just going to leave it in body, cast panel, head and ears, global settings where the other one is, and it says bidirectional. Mine isn't, I don't know, actually, maybe. Bidirectional, yeah, you can always have a smaller forehead. And then create BGeo. Just save that. Span of vertex number, lowest number to highest number is too great. Please renumber your morph and try again. Never had that one before. 3891. Okay, number of vertices 157. 1117. I'm not quite sure what that is. Theoretically, you would have to just create that, create the BGeo, save it, if it would work, and then press create package. And it would literally just, you don't need to do this, create your slider. And then you're pretty much done. You just got to test it in game. So yeah, I have to fix my issue and see what's going on anyway. But that's pretty much the basics. I would advise not starting with the slider that affects both head and scalp, but just start with the slider that affects just the face or just the scalp, because it's just a bit easier to do than to do two of them. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I'll leave it at that.